The elimination final is the replay of last year's grand final, and both the Cheetahs and the Seagulls would like to be in better form going into the important clash, the loser of which bows out for 1991. The defending champions have won 2 of their past 8 matches and know they will have to improve to hold out Lakes, hell-bent on revenge for last year.
They feel they were robbed in last year's grand final and they'll have something to prove, but we've had a 1-1 record this year with them. We lost the first round, we won the second round, so I'd say it's going to be a pretty close encounter. I'd have to be honest and say I haven't been happy with the way we've been playing. There's a lot of room for improvement. We've worked on a few things at training this week. We've had a good talk about things and hopefully we can get our ship back in order.
Lakes' form, on the other hand, hasn't been any better with a 2-win, 5-loss record from their last 7 outings. Touted as the team to watch in the final series, astute coach Peter Walsh is only thinking of the next 24 hours.
I'm not looking further than tomorrow's game, and as I said to you previously, we've trained well this week and we've got a lot of the blokes back, the experience there, and a bit more defence in the forwards, which let us down last weekend, so hopefully we're confident.
Curry, Charlestown and Maitland are the other clubs involved on day 1 of the finals. On Sunday, Toronto, the real surprise packets this year, clash with Neil Baker's Western Suburbs in the qualifying final, and the Rosella's mentor is wary of the informed Scorpions.
I'm confident, but not overconfident. I think this will be a very hard game. We played them in the second round and we really stuck it to Toronto, but there will be a different kettle of fish. They haven't been there for 10 years, and I believe last week's crowd out there, they had a super crowd, and I think they're going to be hard to beat. And I think if whoever doesn't tackle, I said that in the second round when we played them in the second round, whoever doesn't want to tackle will be in trouble.
It's been 13 years since Toronto have played in a final series, and Mal Graham can't wait to get into the action with his young brigade.
We've got a very young side, but the players know that it's going to be a very difficult job. West's very experienced, and we've just got to go out committed and hope that we get a bit of luck and the bounce of the ball and come away the winners.
And for Mal, Toronto's current standing is a tribute to the club and its supporters.
We've snuck along quietly. We've been the quiet achievers. No one tipped us early in the season to make the semi-finals. We're there now, and I think any side that's in the top 3 can go out and win this comp.
It will be a busy day for Lakes United as they feature in reserve and 3rd grade, along with South Newcastle and Waratah.
The picturesque cliffs of Crowdy Head near Taree are a magnificent sight, but can also be an area of great danger. According to police, Selena Marchment was standing beside the lighthouse with a friend at 6 last night when she apparently lost her orientation in the darkness and fell over the edge of the cliff. Rescue workers tried to abseil down the drop, but 60-kilometre-an-hour winds made the task impossible. The lifesaver helicopter searched for the girl. Her body was later lifted to the headland. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Mike Johnson, another 3. He makes it! 2 from 2 from Michael Johnson outside the... A familiar sight to fans, teammates and oppositions alike. Michael Johnson has been shooting the lights out of every stadium in the nation.
Louis and Rubillion. For Mike Johnson who'll try one from well. Johnny Ray Cruz, back to Mike Johnson. From the side, it's Mike Johnson. To pop right. Mike Johnson will try this long-range one and finds the basket too. Narrows the gap to 2 points.
Doesn't go in. Knocked away by Rubillion to Johnson. Johnson got it. Back point. Even Stevens, 81 apiece.
Can't get trapped. Get room. But Morrow did very well to defend, as Terry says. Away it goes to Riley to Johnson. Thank you.
Conference in the States, and I'll be interested to see how they perform tonight.
Thank you.
Look at the defence here. Mike Johnson. Yes! What a good shot. Les Riddle hanging. Oh, look at that! Look at that! That was an unbelievable...
Can they do it? Long one. Mike Johnson tries it. Yes! Oh, gee, won the game! Mike Johnson, what a hero! As the crowd rush onto the court. Turns everyone round, goes up the long range shot. Doesn't do any good, but Morrow does very well to rebound. And here goes the long one. Anthony Johnson, yes! Retrieved and turned quickly away to Bruton. Oh, striking. That had all the earmarks of a bit of genius, but it went to the wrong player. David Anthony, round the corner. Mike Johnson, basketball, that's what it's called. To get that adrenaline going. Rebellion.
Yes, great steal.
Yes, sir. Top steal. Mike Johnson. Ian Rebellion back in the game. Oh. Warren Pinks all over Mike Johnson.
There's the screen by Polk. Johnson. Oh, gee, that's a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Oh, heaven's sake, he threw that out of the next one.
That is a long shot in that third quarter.
So a turnover here to the Falcons. Mike Johnson with another three-point attempt. Will he go off? He does! And the crowd ignite him!
Mike Johnson. It happened so quick. He fakes the pass, which takes the defense away from him, which makes his layup uncontested.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best. I wasn't looking, but somehow you found me. I tried to hide from your love, but like heaven above me, the spy who loved me is keeping all my secrets safe tonight. And nobody does it better. Though sometimes I wish someone could. Nobody does it quite the way you do. Why'd you have to be so good? The way that you hold me, whenever you hold me, there's some kind of magic inside you that keeps me from running, but just keep it coming.
In recent years, the sport of trampolining has disappeared from the curriculum of the state's combined high schools, but has been resurrected through former world champion Brett Austin and the Lake Macquarie Games. Now in its third year, the Lakes Trampolining Championships have grown rapidly. This year alone, 21 primary and 12 high schools taking part in all forms of bounding, leaping, somersaulting and bouncing, all in the name of fun. And one of the important ingredients is the mix between the beginner and the experienced gymnast. Each took turns on the tumbling mat, with Brynda Ward of St Mary's Gateshead, a New South Wales squad member, starring with a dazzling display. Also showing brilliant form, 12-year-old Michael Jennings from St Francis Xavier, who only yesterday was runner-up in the State Open titles. Belmont bounced their way to dual wins in the primary and secondary schools division. Today's major semi-final was only 2 minutes old when South's Darren Ford hoisted the ball miles in the air and the Lions runners raced through, putting Brennan under siege. He spilled the ball to Robert Rouse and his pass found Hatfield backing up and the Lions roared loudly. Trevor Crowe reminded West they were in for a tough afternoon. But the Rosellas didn't take any notice, Tony Price busting them up the middle, onto Darren Tracy who was in support, and they were in. West went further ahead when again Price made the break from the scrum win. His quick acceleration enabled him to outpace the defence, and West were ahead 10-6. Back came South. Ford to Steve Power, back to Ford, who made a little break onto Mikowski, and it was 10-all at half-time. From then on, it was the Rosellas' afternoon. Tony Price to McDonald, on to Greg Price, and his sensational reverse pass found Tim Morrison backing up, and he did the rest to score under the posts. West weren't finished as again the life wire half gave a pass to Atkins, quickly to Greg Price, and again the big front rower was on the spot to set Neil Baker on the way to the line, and the Rosellas had marched into the grand final, and it was a pretty happy dressing room after. Understandably, a happy Rosella's dressing room after the match, as it had been a super day for the red, white and greens, all three grades advancing to the Tooheys Cup Grand Finals on September the 1st. And while careful to bestow praise on all his hard-working team, Neil Baker broke ranks to heap accolades on a couple of priceless commodities, Tony and Greg. With Souths ahead by 2, Greg Price gave one of the passes of the season to send Tim Morrison away, and he scored under the posts to break the Lions' spirit.
Well, mate, Greg Price has been doing it all year. He's a player that didn't get much recognition here last year. He's certainly a great ball player, mate. I live off him as much as I can.
The big front rower wasn't finished and put his coat through a gap, and it was Western Suburbs who had won their 15th consecutive match to march into the decider. But the win was set in motion by the man many tipped to win Wednesday night's Player of the Year award, Tony Price, who gave the final pass to Tracy to score and then scored a smart try himself. And Baker left no one in doubt as to what he thinks of his halfback.
Player of the Year in this room, and he played like it today. I tell you, he's the best halfback, one of the best halfbacks I've played with in 10 years of football. And the blokes around him, they all deserve the accolades they're getting today, and I guarantee that Western Suburbs have got the grand final, mate, for sure.
On the other side of the fence, it was simply a case of knowing where South failed while issuing a warning.
They're a good football side and they thoroughly deserve their grand final spot, but we gave them too much ball and they capitalised. We said that midweek every night, and that's exactly what we did to them. I thought we started the game well. Our intensity dropped. We're our most vulnerable after we score, and that happened again today. But, you know, we've got to work at it again, and I'm sure we'll play Western grand final.
The Department of Community Services decided a year ago to close the Belmont Occasional Care Centre after it failed to meet fire safety standards. Since then, parents have been looking hard for an alternative. But with no funding from the department and Lake Macquarie Council refusing to get involved with what it sees as a state government matter, the centre was looking at imminent closure. However, with a month to go before eviction, local building company DF McCloy has come up with a proposal which could save the facility and give council a purpose-built centre free of charge.
We're proposing to build the childcare centre for the community at the Belmont North Shopping Centre at Gillstown in exchange for land that we'll be developing under Section 94 land we're developing at Dudley.
Council is yet to consider the land swap idea, but organisers are confident it will be approved.
It meets every single regulation. We will still get our funding, we will get licensed, and it'll be at a shopping centre where we'll be used even more frequently than we are here.
While discussions between Council and McCloy's are underway, an extension to the centre's licence is being sought. A motion will be put to Council tonight, calling on the department to grant a temporary licence. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
In 1986, an apparent oversight by Australian authorities allowed one model of the Chinese assault rifles to come into Australia in a form which allowed it to be turned into a full machine gun by inserting a bobby pin in the firing mechanism. When the danger was highlighted, authorities ducked for cover, New South Wales Police, Federal Police and Customs all blaming each other, choosing only to harass the amateur gun enthusiast who'd raised the alarm and leaving many questions unanswered. Since then, some weapons were seized and some restrictions applied, but countless hundreds of military-style weapons were allowed to be imported. If you want to know what guns are available in Australia, try browsing through the gun magazines at your local newsagent. If you're not a gun enthusiast, you'll probably be shocked at the firepower that's readily available. Many of the stories, too, seem to have military overtones. Stories like nothing beats the thrill of firing a machine gun. Ironically, in this magazine, there was a government advertisement proclaiming that from the 1st of July, New South Wales would be a safer state. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
This was a common sight on the Possum Brush stretch of the Pacific Highway south of Taree. In the last 5.5 years, 11 people have been killed and countless others injured. During the last 18 months, however, work has been underway on a new 4-kilometre stretch to take the estimated 9,000 cars which travel on the road each day. Today, Minister for Roads Wal Murray and Federal Land Transport Minister Bob Brown opened the new $7 million section.
On behalf of our respective government, unveil this plaque and officially declare this section of road open.
According to Mr Murray, the old road was poorly aligned and a danger to motorists. It had earned the reputation as a horror stretch, and this had detracted from tourism on the north coast.
The benefits to the motorists will be enormous in improved travelling conditions, in reduced times, and above all, the reducing of our death toll and our injuries.
As well as the new highway section, 2 new bridges have also been built. But this is not the end of work. The Possum Brush extension will be continued to the north and south. Work to the north will begin in November and will cost around $15 million, while $9 million will be spent on a dual carriageway to the south. All this should be completed by May 1993, but even then it will be long overdue.
I think it's fair to say that any road construction project on the Pacific Highway is in fact overdue and will be welcomed anywhere up and down the Pacific Highway by the community.
In a Wallsend park this afternoon, 17-year-old Rochelle's father, Ted, and 2 uncles recalled a young woman who had a passion for life.
Outgoing, a bubbly personality, and I think, from all the tributes and that we've got, from our school friends and that, I can only say that, you know, she was my niece and I loved her.
Rochelle's father was too upset to talk, but Tony Milburn says his niece was going to Sydney to get some last-minute tutoring before today's HSC trials.
It just happened at the time with the train running early, I suppose, and unforeseen things. This had to happen.
At Wallsend High, the staff and students were also trying to come to terms with the death of their Year 12 schoolmate. While distraught pupils talked to counsellors, home economics teacher Diane Saltow spoke of Rochelle's popularity.
I think Rochelle has left her mark on her peers, and that's a wonderful mark. And I think that in the future that our kids will value one another even more.
With his students in shock, Principal Brian Gordon has postponed the HSC trials for a week.
The stress of the trials would have been impossible on top of such a tragedy.
As Rochelle's family and friends cope with her death, Mr Milburn has a stern message for politicians to consider stricter gun laws.
And I'm a fair dinkum sort of a bloke. Get off your asses and come and have a look. There's got to be a line drawn between a sporting shooter and just a bloke that goes and blows the hell out of a sign.
Scott Bevan, NBN News.